He mocked me at my birthday party. So I walked out and left him broke. The champagne glass slipped from my trembling fingers and shattered against the marble floor, the crystalline sound cutting through the cruel laughter that had just destroyed everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the man I planned to spend my life with. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this is a story of how my 30th birthday party became the catalyst for the most devastating and empowering transformation of my entire life. Before we go on, please like and subscribe. Sharing stories like this can protect someone, give them courage, and maybe even save a life. Chapter 1. The Perfect Illusion. 6 months before that fateful night, I believed I was living a fairy tale. My boyfriend of 4 years, Marcus Wellington, seemed like everything I'd ever dreamed of in a partner. Tall, charismatic, with dark hair that fell just perfectly across his forehead and eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, which was often, at least in the beginning. We'd met at a marketing conference in downtown Chicago. I was a junior account manager at a mid-sized firm, nervous about my first major industry event, clutching my welcome packet like a lifeline. Marcus had approached me at the opening night mixer, 2 glasses of wine in hand, offering one with a smile that made my heart skip. "You look like you could use this more than I could," he'd said, and I'd laughed, grateful for the kindness from a stranger. That stranger became my world. Marcus worked in finance, or so he said. He was always vague about the specifics, mentioning investments and portfolio management with a casual wave of his hand whenever I asked for details. I didn't push. I trusted him. God, how I trusted him. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within 3 months, he'd moved into my apartment, a cozy 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park that I'd worked so hard to afford on my own. Just temporarily, he'd assured me, until I close this big deal I'm working on. The big deal never closed. Or maybe it did, and the money went somewhere I never saw. Either way, Marcus never moved out, and more importantly, he never contributed much to our living expenses. "Baby, you know how it is in finance," he'd say, kissing my forehead when I gently mentioned the overdue utilities or the rent that was coming due. "Cash flow is tight right now, but once this next investment pays off, I'll take care of everything. We'll go on that trip to Bali you've been dreaming about." I believed him every single time. I worked 50-hour weeks at the marketing firm, climbing the ladder from junior account manager to senior account manager, then finally to director of client services. Each promotion came with more responsibility and, thankfully, more money. Money that seemed to evaporate faster than I could earn it. Marcus had expensive tastes. Designer clothes, high-end restaurants, bottle service at the clubs his friends frequented. "We have to look successful to be successful," he'd explain, and naive as I was, I'd nod and hand over my credit card. My friends noticed before I did. Jessica, my college roommate and closest confidant, pulled me aside one evening after a group dinner where, once again, I'd picked up the tab for everyone, including Marcus and his 2 friends. "Sarah, honey, I need to talk to you about Marcus," she'd said, her voice careful, like she was approaching a skittish animal. "What about him?" I'd asked, already defensive. When was the last time he paid for anything? And I mean anything. Dinner, drinks, even coffee. I'd open my mouth to defend him, to explain about the investments and the cash flow and the big deal that was always just around the corner, but the words died in my throat, because when I really thought about it, I couldn't remember the last time Marcus had reached for his wallet. It's complicated. I'd finally said the weakest defense in the world. Jessica had just looked at me with those sad, knowing eyes. "Okay, babe, I'm here when you need me." I should have listened to her. I should have listened to the tiny voice in my head that grew louder with each passing month, each bounce check, each maxed-out credit card. But I was in love, or what I thought was love. In reality, I was in a prison of my own making, with bars built from denial and hope and the sunk cost fallacy of 4 years invested in a relationship. Chapter 2. Planning the Party. As my 30th birthday approached, I made a decision. This would be a celebration of everything I'd achieved, a marker of the success I'd built despite the financial drain that was my relationship. I'd been promoted to director just 2 months earlier, complete with a significant raise. For once, I had a bit of breathing room in my budget. "I want to throw a party," I told Marcus one evening in early September. My birthday was October 15th, giving me just over a month to plan. He looked up from his phone, where he'd been scrolling through Instagram for the past hour. A party? That's a great idea. We could rent out that rooftop bar downtown, the one with a view of the lake. My buddy knows the owner. Actually, I said carefully, I was thinking something more intimate, maybe 30 or 40 people, here at the apartment or at a nice restaurant with a private room. Marcus's face fell slightly, but he recovered quickly, flashing that charming smile. Whatever you want, birthday girl. Though we should definitely make it memorable. You only turn 30 once. Over the following weeks, I threw myself into planning. I created a guest list that included my closest friends from work, college, and my book club, plus a handful of family members, my parents, who still lived in Wisconsin, and my younger sister Emma, who'd recently moved to Evanston. Marcus insisted on adding his friends to the list. They're part of our life, too, he'd argued, and I'd agreed. Even though I barely knew most of them beyond their first names and their apparent love of expensive whiskey, I found the perfect venue. Giardino's, an upscale Italian restaurant with a beautiful private dining room that could accommodate 50 people. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a garden courtyard, complete with twinkling lights and a small fountain. It was magical. The deposit was $2,000, non-refundable. I swallowed hard and handed over my credit card. That's a lot of money, Marcus had commented when I showed him the receipt. We could have done something cheaper. It's my 30th birthday. I'd replied, an edge creeping into my voice. I think I'm allowed to splurge a little. Hey, no judgment here. He'd raise his hands in mock surrender. It's your money. Those words should have been a red flag. It's your money, not our money. After 4 years together, living under the same roof, sharing a life, or so I thought, it was still just my money, but I pushed the thought aside and continued planning. I hired a photographer, a sweet woman named Monica, who specialized in events and had a gorgeous portfolio. Another $800. I ordered a custom cake from the bakery that had made my sister's wedding cake, a 3-tier masterpiece with delicate sugar flowers. $450. I arranged for a pianist to play during dinner. $500. The cost added up quickly, but I told myself it was worth it. This was a milestone, a celebration of not just my birthday, but everything I'd accomplished. I deserved this. Marcus was surprisingly helpful with some of the planning, or so it seemed at the time. He suggested the menu, recommended a particular wine he said his wine guy could get for a good price, offered to handle the playlist for after dinner. I was grateful for the help, touched that he seemed invested in making my night special. What I didn't realize was that Marcus saw my party as something else entirely, an opportunity. Chapter 3, The Gathering Storm. The week before my birthday, small things started going wrong. The photographer called to confirm, and I discovered that someone, Marcus, it turned out, had upgraded the package without telling me. Instead of 4 hours of coverage, we now had 6 hours plus a second photographer, an additional $600. I thought you want the full experience captured, Marcus explained when I confronted him. This way, we'll have photos of people arriving, the whole dinner, and the after party. What after party? I'd ask, confused. Oh, didn't I mention? A few of the guys want to take everyone out after dinner. Nothing crazy, just drinks at that new cocktail bar in River North. Marcus, I can't afford. Relax, he cut me off. They're paying for that part. You've already done enough. I should have pressed for details. I should have put my foot down and said no, but I was tired from pulling late nights at work, stressed about making sure every detail of the party was perfect, and frankly, I didn't have the energy to fight. 2 days before the party, my sister Emma came over to help me pick out an outfit. I'd taken the afternoon off work, a rare luxury, and we'd planned to make a day of it. Lunch, shopping, maybe a quick manicure. Emma was 3 years younger than me, a free spirit who taught yoga and lived in a studio apartment that cost half what mine did. Despite our different paths, we were close, and I'd been looking forward to spending time with her. So, Marcus seems excited about the party, Emma said as we browsed through dresses at Nordstrom. Does he? I pulled out a navy blue cocktail dress and held it up to the light. He's been kind of distracted lately. Distracted how? I hesitated, not wanting to give voice to the nagging worry that had been growing in the back of my mind. I don't know. He's been on his phone a lot, taking calls in the other room. Says it's work stuff, but you don't believe him, Emma finished. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Emma pulled out a deep burgundy dress with a flattering wrap silhouette. Try this one. And Sarah, I love you and I want you to be happy, but I have to ask, are you happy? The question hung in the air between us. Was I happy? I thought about my life. The job I loved, the apartment I'd made into a home, the carefully curated existence I'd built. And then I thought about Marcus, the man who slept in my bed, ate food bought with my money, and wore clothes purchased on credit cards I was struggling to pay off. I'm working on it. I finally said, which wasn't really an answer at all. Emma let it drop, but I could see the concern in her eyes as I went into the fitting room. The burgundy dress fit perfectly, hugging my curves in all the right places and making me feel, for the first time in weeks, beautiful and confident. I bought it without looking at the price tag. A reckless move for someone who'd been religiously tracking every dollar, but I was beyond caring. This was my birthday, damn it, and I was going to look stunning. The night before the party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Marcus, who was snoring softly, and stared at the ceiling, running through mental checklists. I confirmed with the restaurant that afternoon. Everything was set. The seating chart was finalized. The cake would be delivered at 8 p.m. The pianist would start at 7. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Jessica. Can't wait for tomorrow night. You're going to look amazing. Love you. I smiled in the darkness and typed back, love you too. Thanks for always being there. What I didn't know was that Jessica had spent the past week trying to get in touch with Marcus, wanting to coordinate a surprise birthday toast. What I didn't know was that Marcus had been dodging her calls. What I didn't know was that Jessica had started to suspect something was very, very wrong. Chapter 4. The Birthday. October 15th dawned bright and cool, a perfect fall day in Chicago. I woke up early, despite my exhaustion, and found Marcus already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with his phone. Happy birthday, beautiful, he said, pulling me into a hug. He smelled like his expensive cologne, the one I bought him for his birthday. How does it feel to be 30? Ask me again tonight. I laughed, snuggling into him. He pulled away and reached into the nightstand drawer. I got you something. My heart lifted. Despite everything, despite the financial stress and the nagging doubts, he'd got me a gift. Maybe I'd been wrong to worry. Maybe everything was fine. He handed me a small wrap box, the paper slightly wrinkled, the bow askew. I tore it open to find a jewelry box, and inside, a pair of cubic zirconia earrings. The kind you could buy at a mall kiosk for $20. They're nice. I managed, try and keep the disappointment from my voice. Thank you. I knew you'd love them. Marcus beamed, seemingly oblivious to my reaction. They'll look perfect with your dress tonight. I nodded and forced a smile, setting the earrings aside. They wouldn't look perfect with anything, but especially not with the elegant burgundy dress hanging in my closet. The day passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. I got my hair done at noon, swept into an elegant updo. My makeup appointment was at 3, a full glam look that made me feel like a different person, a more confident, powerful version of myself. By 5:30, I was dressed and ready, standing in front of a full-length mirror in our bedroom. The burgundy dress fit like a dream, and I'd paired it with the diamond studs my grandmother had left me, real diamonds, not cubic zirconia. My hair, my makeup, everything was perfect. Marcus emerged from the bathroom, dressed in a sharp navy suit I bought him for a job interview that never seemed to happen. He looked handsome, I had to admit, and when he saw me, his eyes widened. Wow, he said, you look incredible. Thanks, I replied, and for a moment, I let myself believe that tonight would be everything I'd hoped for. We took an Uber to the restaurant. I'd booked it and paid for it in advance, not trusting Marcus to remember. As we pulled up to Giardino's, I could see warm light spilling from the windows, and my heart began to race with anticipation. This was it. My night. My celebration. How naive I was. Chapter 5. The Calm Before. The private dining room at Giardino's looked even more beautiful than I'd imagined. The staff had outdone themselves, with elegant floral centerpieces on each table, tea lights flickering everywhere, and the garden view through the floor-to-ceiling windows providing a magical backdrop. Guests were already arriving when Marcus and I walked in at 6:30. The party officially started at 7, but I'd wanted to be there early to greet people. "Sarah," my mother rushed over, enveloping me in a hug. "You look absolutely stunning, sweetheart. Happy birthday." My father was right behind her, pressing a kiss to my cheek. 30 years old. I can hardly believe it. Seems like yesterday you were learning to ride a bike. Emma arrived moments later with her boyfriend, a quiet guy named Tom who taught philosophy at Northwestern. She took one look at me, and her eyes filled with tears. "You look like a queen," she whispered, hugging me tight. "Don't make me cry," I whispered back. I just spent an hour on this makeup. Friends trickled in steadily after that. Jessica arrived with her husband Mark, both of them dressed to the nines. My work colleagues, Sandra, Kevin, and Priya, showed up together, carrying a beautifully wrapped gift that they insisted I open later. And then there were Marcus's friends. I'd met them before, of course, in passing. Brad, a loud guy who worked in real estate and never seemed to stop talking about his commissions. Tyler, who claimed to be an entrepreneur but never specified what kind of business he ran. And Jake, the quietest of the three, who always seemed to be smirking at some private joke. They arrived together, already looking like they'd pre-gamed, carrying a bottle of expensive whiskey that they immediately asked the server to open. For the birthday girl, Brad announced loudly, pouring shots for everyone within reach, whether they wanted one or not. I accepted mine graciously and downed it quickly, feeling the burn spread through my chest. Dutch courage, I thought. For what? I didn't know yet. By 7:15, all 50 guests had arrived. The pianist was playing softly in the corner, a beautiful rendition of "The Way You Look Tonight." I made my rounds, greeting everyone, accepting birthday wishes and compliments on the venue, the dress, the party itself. "You've really outdone yourself," Priya said, squeezing my hand. "This is gorgeous." "Thank you for coming," I replied, meaning it. "It means the world to have you all here." Marcus was holding court near the bar with his friends, and I noticed they were already working through their second round of drinks. I made a mental note to check on them later, to make sure they weren't getting too rowdy. Dinner was called at 7:30. I'd arranged the seating carefully, putting myself at the head table with Marcus on my right, Emma and Tom on my left, and my parents nearby. Jessica and Mark were at the next table over, close enough to chat. The first course arrived, a beautiful burrata with heirloom tomatoes and basil. The conversation flowed easily, laughter rising and falling around the room. I felt myself relaxing for the first time all day. This was nice. This was exactly what I'd wanted. Speech. Someone called out, I think it was Brad, "The birthday girl needs to make a speech." "Not yet," Marcus interjected, standing up. "Let me say something first." My heart swelled. This was it. The moment where he'd tell everyone how much he loved me, how grateful he was for me, maybe even. I let myself fantasize for a split second about a proposal. For years together, my 30th birthday, surrounded by everyone we loved. It would be perfect. Marcus cleared his throat, and the room quieted. All eyes turned to him. "I just want to say," he began, his voice carrying across the room, "what an amazing night this is. Sarah really knows how to throw a party." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "And I should know," Marcus continued, his words starting to slur slightly. How much had he had to drink already? I've been to a lot of parties. Some of them were even paid for by the person whose birthday it was. A few uncomfortable chuckles. My smile froze on my face. "But seriously," Marcus went on, she's something special. She works so hard, makes so much money." "Marcus," I said quietly, a warning. He didn't hear me, or chose not to, and she's so generous with that money. Just ask anyone here. This party? All her. The apartment we live in? All her. The clothes I'm wearing right now? You guessed it, all her. The laughter was dying now, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. I could feel 50 pairs of eyes shifting between Marcus and me. "Marcus, sit down," I said, louder this time. "Why?" He spread his arms wide. "I'm just being honest. That's what you always say you want, right? Honesty? Well, here's some honesty. Sarah is the best sugar mama a guy could ask for." Sugar mama. The words hit me like a physical blow. Around the room, I heard gasps. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Emma half stood from her chair. And Marcus's friends, Brad, Tyler, and Jake, they were laughing. Actually laughing. Like this was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Chapter 6, The Shattering. Time seemed to slow down. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Could feel the blood draining from my face. Around me, my guests sat frozen, forks halfway to mouths, wine glasses suspended in midair. "What did you just say?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. Marcus, oblivious to the devastation he'd just wreaked, laughed. "Oh, come on, Sarah. Don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke." "A joke?" I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You just called me your sugar mama in front of 50 people. At my own birthday party. That's your idea of a joke." "See, this is what I mean," Marcus said, turned to his friends. "She's always so serious. Can't take a little ribbing." Brad and Tyler were still chuckling, but Jake had gone quiet, his eyes darting between Marcus and me uncomfortably. "Marcus Wellington." My voice was steady now, cold as ice. "How much money have you contributed to our household in the past 4 years?" "Oh, here we go." Marcus rolled his eyes. "The money talk. I told you I'm between investments right now." "How much?" I repeated, cutting him off. "A dollar amount. How much have you paid toward rent, utilities, food, anything?" Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. Around us, the silence was deafening. "I'll tell you," I continued. "Zero. Not a single penny in 6 months. Before that, maybe $300 total over 3.5 years. Would you like to know how much I've spent in that same time period? On rent, on food, on your clothes, on your drinks with your friends? Sarah, maybe we should talk about this in private," my mother said gently, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. No, he wanted to air this in public. So let's air it. $53,000. That's how much you've cost me, Marcus. $53,000 over 4 years. The number hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Jessica was on her feet now. "Sarah, I tried to tell you." "I know," I said, my eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "I know you tried. You all tried. And I didn't listen because I was in love. Or I thought I was." Marcus's expression had shifted from amusement to anger. "That's not fair. I've been looking for the right opportunity. The market's been tough." "The market's been tough?" I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Marcus, I've been promoted twice since we met. I've nearly doubled my salary. The market hasn't been the problem. You have." "Fuck this," Marcus said, stumbling slightly as he pushed away from the table. "I don't have to stand here and be attacked." "Attacked?" My voice rose. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I care about, and I'm attacking you?" Brad stood up, swaying. "Come on, man. Let's get out of here." "She's not worth it." Something inside me snapped. "Not worth it?" I turned to Brad, my voice dangerously quiet. "I'd like to know what you think is worth something, Brad. Is it the $200 dinners I've paid for when Marcus brought you and your friends along? Is it the bottle service I've covered at clubs I didn't even want to be at? Is it the loan Marcus gave you last year? That's right, the $500 that came from my emergency fund and was never paid back." Brad's face turned red. "That was a private transaction." "Nothing is private anymore." I shouted, surprised at myself at my own volume. "You want to laugh at me? You want to make me the punchline of your jokes? Fine. Let's put everything out in the open." I turned back to Marcus, who was still standing there, his face a mask of indignation and embarrassment. "Tell them," I said. "Tell everyone here the truth about your job. About why you're always on calls in the other room. About where you really go during the day when I'm at work. Sarah, stop, Marcus warned. Why? Afraid they'll find out you've been lying? That there is no big investment deal? That you've been unemployed for 8 months and I've been covering everything while you tell me you're working from home? The gasps around the room were audible now. My father stood up, his face red with anger. Is this true? He demanded, looking at Marcus. Marcus's composure cracked. You don't understand. No, you don't understand. My father's voice boomed. My daughter has worked herself to bone, has done everything to support you. And this is how you repay her? By mocking her publicly? Dad, it's okay, I said, though it wasn't. Nothing was okay. It's not okay, Emma chimed in, her voice shaking with fury. Sarah, I've bitten my tongue for years watching this asshole take advantage of you. But I'm done. We're all done pretending this is normal. Jessica stood up, walking over to stand beside me. She's right. Marcus, you need to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus said, but his bravado was fading. This is my girlfriend's birthday party. I said quietly, was your girlfriend. Past tense. The room went silent again. What? Marcus stared at me. You heard me. We're done. It's over. I want you out of my apartment, out of my life, and out of my sight. You can't be serious. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. You've been using me, Marcus, for years, and I let you because I loved you or I thought I did. But love doesn't look like this. This isn't love. This is abuse. The word hung in the air, heavy and terrible and true. Abuse? Marcus laughed incredulously. I never hit you. Financial abuse is still abuse, Jessica interjected. And Sarah's right. You need to leave. Marcus looked around the room, clearly expecting someone to come to his defense. His friends Brad and Tyler had gone quiet, suddenly very interested in their drinks. Jake was openly uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot. Fine, Marcus spat. Fine. I didn't want to be at this stupid party anyway. You're boring, Sarah. You've always been boring. All you do is work and worry about money. There's no fun in you anymore. Get out, I said. You'll regret this, Marcus warned, pointing a finger at me. You'll realize you need me. Out! I screamed, and this time my father and several male guests moved forward, forming a wall between Marcus and me. You heard her, my father said, his voice low and dangerous. Leave. Now! For a moment, I thought Marcus might actually try to fight his way through them. But then something in his expression changed. Maybe he finally realized he'd gone too far. Maybe he finally understood what he'd lost. And he stumbled toward the door. This is bullshit, he muttered. Total bullshit. Brad and Tyler exchanged glances and followed him out, though not before Tyler had the audacity to grab the bottle of whiskey they'd brought. Jake remained behind, looking miserable. He approached me cautiously. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't know he was going to. I'm really sorry, Sarah. You deserve better. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Jake left. And then it was just me, standing in the middle of my ruined birthday party, surrounded by 50 people who just witnessed a complete implosion of my relationship and my dignity. The champagne glass I'd been holding, I don't even remember picking it up, slipped from my trembling fingers and shattered against the marble floor. The sound seemed to break the spell that had fallen over the room. Suddenly, everyone was moving, talking, trying to comfort me. My mother wrapped her arms around me. Emma was crying. Jessica was on her phone, presumably calling someone, maybe the restaurant manager, maybe a lawyer. I didn't know and didn't care. And I just stood there, numb, barely able to process what had just happened. My birthday party. My beautiful, carefully planned 30th birthday party. Ruined. But as the initial shock began to fade, something else emerged. Something that felt almost like relief. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. The restaurant manager, a kind Italian man named Giuseppe, appeared at my elbow. Miss Mitchell, he said gently, please, let me get you somewhere quiet. You need a moment. I nodded mutely and let him guide me to a small office off the main hallway. Jessica and Emma followed, closing the door behind us. As soon as the door clicked shut, I collapsed into a chair and the tears came. For years of denial, of making excuses, of slowly drowning in debt, while propping up a man who saw me as nothing more than an ATM, it all came pouring out. I'm so stupid, I sobbed. How did I not see it? How did I let this happen? You're not stupid, Emma said fiercely, kneeling beside my chair. He manipulated you. That's what manipulators do. They make you doubt yourself. They make you feel like you're the problem. Jessica handed me tissues from a box on Giuseppe's desk. Emma's right. This wasn't your fault, Sarah. Marcus is a con artist. A really good one. But the signs were there. I protested. You all saw them. Why didn't I? Because you loved him, Jessica said simply. Or you thought you did. And when you love someone, you want to believe the best about them. There's no shame in that. There was a soft knock at the door, and my mother peeked in. Sweetheart, can I come in? I nodded, and she entered, followed by my father. My mother immediately pulled me into a hug, while my father stood awkwardly nearby, clearly wanting to comfort me, but not knowing how. Dad, I'm sorry, I started. Don't you dare apologize, he interrupted, his voice gruff with emotion. You have nothing to apologize for. That boy out there, he's the one who should be apologizing. If I ever see him again. Richard, my mother warned. I'm just saying, my father muttered. Nobody treats my daughter that way. Despite everything, I felt a small smile tug at my lips. Thanks, Dad. Giuseppe knocked again, poking his head in. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but your guests are asking what you'd like to do. Shall I tell them the party is over? I looked at the faces of the people I loved most in the world, my parents, my sister, my best friend, and I thought about the 50 people out there who'd come to celebrate with me, who dressed up and brought gifts and cleared their schedules on a Friday night. No, I said, wiping my eyes and standing up. My legs felt shaky, but I forced them to hold me. No, the party isn't over. This is my birthday, and I'm not going to let Marcus Wellington ruin it any more than he already has. Are you sure? Emma asked. No one would blame you if you wanted to just go home. I'm sure. I checked my reflection in the small mirror on Giuseppe's wall. My makeup was a mess, mascara streaking down my cheeks, but my eyes were clear. I need to go back out there. I need to, I don't know, reclaim my night. Jessica grinned. That's my girl. Come on, let's fix your face. 5 minutes later, with Emma's emergency makeup kit and Jessica's steady hand, I looked almost presentable again. The damage was still visible if you looked closely, but I didn't care. Let them see. Let them see that I cried and survived and was still standing. When I walked back into the dining room, conversation stopped. Everyone turned to look at me, and I could see pity in so many eyes. I hated it. Hi, everyone, I said, my voice only shaking a little. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I know that was intense and uncomfortable, and definitely not what anyone signed up for when they RSVP'd to a birthday party. A few nervous laughs. But you're all here, and there's still dinner to be served, and a cake that I'm told is absolutely beautiful. So if you're willing to stay, I'd love to continue celebrating with you. Not celebrating Marcus being gone, though good riddance, but celebrating the fact that I have people in my life who love me enough to show up, who love me enough to tell me hard truths, even when I'm not ready to hear them. I looked directly at Jessica. Thank you for trying to warn me. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I was too blind to see what was right in front of me. Jessica blew me a kiss, tears in her eyes. And to everyone else, thank you for being here. Thank you for witnessing what was probably the most humiliating moment of my life, and for not running for the exits. We'd never run, Priya called out. We're here for you, Sarah. Always. A chorus of agreement rose from around the room. Then let's eat, I said, managing a real smile. Giuseppe has promised me the pasta here is to die for, and I'll be damned if Marcus Wellington costs me any more than he already has, including a good meal. The tension broke, and people laughed. Real laughter this time, not the uncomfortable kind from earlier. Conversation resumed as everyone returned to their seats. The second course arrived, and then the third. The food was indeed incredible. Perfectly cooked pasta with wild mushrooms, tender osso buco, fresh fish with lemon and capers. Under different circumstances, I would have savored every bite. As it was, I mostly pushed the food around my plate, my stomach still in knots. But I smiled. I laughed at jokes. I accepted the concern and comfort offered by my guests. And slowly, the knot in my stomach began to loosen. Around 9 o'clock, the cake was brought out, the beautiful three-tier masterpiece I'd ordered. Giuseppe had thoughtfully removed the cake topper, which had been two intertwined initials, S and M. I was grateful. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like the video and comment where you're watching from. See you in the next episode.